My drunk best friend humiliated my girlfriend in front of everyone. Now I'm rethinking our friendship. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need to get this off my chest. I, 28 male, have been best friends with Lucas, 29 male, for over a decade. We've been through everything together: bad breakups, job failures, family drama, you name it. He's the type of friend I always trusted blindly, the kind of guy who would drop everything if I needed him. And for as long as I've known him, he's always been respectful, never crossed any lines, never made me question his character. That changed on our recent trip, and now I don't know if I can ever see him the same way again. A few weeks ago, a group of us planned a trip to the beach, just a weekend to relax, drink, and forget about work for a bit. My girlfriend, Mariana, 26 female, was coming along too. She and Lucas always got along. Not best friends or anything, but there was mutual respect. At least, iu achava que tinha. The first night was normal: barbecue, drinks, music. But then Lucas got wasted. Not just tipsy, not just a little too much, but full on, slurring his words, barely standing wasted. And that's when he started talking. At first, it was just dumb, embarrassing drunk talk. But then he looked at me and said something that made my stomach drop. He let out a dry, sloppy laugh and said something like, "Do you really think Mariana is with you because she loves you?" At first, I chuckled, thinking it was just another one of his dumb drunk jokes, but he didn't stop. He went on, saying that women like her always have a plan, that she was only with me because I had a good future, and that if I ever lost everything, she'd be the first to walk away. People around us started shifting uncomfortably, waiting for me to shut him down. But I froze. Lucas had never been this kind of guy. And the way he said it, with that drunken certainty, like he really believed it, made something in my stomach twist. I tried to brush it off, but he kept going. It got worse. He started commenting on her looks, saying she was too good for me, that I had to be blind not to see there was something off. That if I really thought about it, I'd realize she wasn't as innocent as I made her out to be. Then he started throwing in personal things about her, details I had never shared with anyone, things she had trusted me with. Somehow, at some point, he had remembered them, stored them away, and now, drunk or not, he was using them to tear her down. And the worst part? He said it all with this smug, condescending tone, like he was doing me a favor, like I was an idiot for not seeing what was so obvious to him. I felt my face get hot, not just from anger but from pure disbelief. This was Lucas, the guy I trusted more than anyone, the guy who had always been on my side. And now he was sitting there, in front of our friends, ripping into my girlfriend like she was some kind of scam artist who had fooled me. I could see a few of our friends exchanging glances, uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Maybe they were too drunk, maybe they were waiting for me to react. But at that moment, all I could do was stare at him, trying to understand where the hell this was coming from. Then, as if he hadn't already said enough, he leaned in, lowering his voice slightly but still loud enough for the whole table to hear. "You really think she's never cheated on you?" he slurred, shaking his head. "Come on, man. Open your eyes. She's out of your league. Do you seriously think you're the only guy she's got wrapped around her finger?" That was it. I slammed my drink down on the table, hard enough to make a few glasses shake, and told him to shut the hell up. The words came out sharper than I expected, but I didn't care. My heart was pounding in my chest, my hands clenched into fists under the table. He just blinked at me, slow and unfazed, like I was the one being dramatic. The whole table went silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting to see what I'd do next. Lucas just leaned back in his chair, still wearing that lazy, drunken smirk like he hadn't just disrespected my relationship in front of everyone. I wanted to yell at him, to get up and shove him until he sobered up enough to realize how out of line he was. But instead, I just sat there, gripping the edge of the table, forcing myself to breathe. Someone tried to change the subject. One of our friends made a half-assed joke about how we were all too drunk to be having serious conversations. But the damage was done. I wasn't drunk enough to pretend this hadn't happened. I wasn't drunk enough to let it slide. I looked at Lucas, really looked at him, and it hit me that I wasn't just mad, I was disappointed. This wasn't some stupid drunk mistake. It felt like he had been waiting for the chance to say this, like all these thoughts had been sitting in his head for a while, just waiting for the alcohol to loosen his tongue. I didn't say another word to him for the rest of the night. I got up, walked away from the table, and went straight to the room Mariana and I were sharing. She wasn't there, she had gone to bed early, tired from the long day. Part of me was relieved. I didn't want her to hear any of that, didn't want her to see the way Lucas had just humiliated both of us. But as I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, the anger kept bubbling up inside me. This wasn't just about what he said, it was about who it was coming from. Lucas had always been someone I could count on, the one person who had never given me a reason to doubt him. But now, I kept replaying his words in my head, wondering if this was how he had always seen me. Had he always thought I wasn't good enough? Had he always believed Mariana was using me? Or worse, had he been waiting for me to fail? The thought made my stomach turn. The next morning, I woke up still angry. Not just at Lucas, but at myself. I had let him say all that crap without really calling him out for it. I had let him sit there, drunk and smug, tearing down my girlfriend, questioning my relationship, and all I did was tell him to shut up. That wasn't enough. He had crossed a line, no, he had bulldozed right through it, and I wasn't going to pretend like nothing happened. When I walked out to the common area, most of our friends were already up, sitting around the table, eating breakfast like it was any other day. And there was Lucas, looking a little rough, rubbing his temples like the hangover was just starting to hit. When he saw me, he grinned, like nothing had happened. Like we were just going to move on. That set something off in me. I walked straight up to him and, in front of everyone, said, "We need to talk. Now." Lucas let out a groggy sigh and muttered something about needing coffee first, but I wasn't having it. I wasn't going to let him brush this off like a stupid drunken slip-up. I stepped closer, lowering my voice but making sure everyone around us could still hear. "You remember what you said last night?" I asked. He blinked at me, tilting his head like he was trying to recall. And then, just like that, he smirked. "I remember telling you some hard truths," he said, stretching his arms lazily, like this was some kind of joke. "Sorry if that hurt your feelings, man." That was it. That was all I needed to hear. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't even embarrassed. He meant every word he had said the night before. I felt my hands clench at my sides, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel our friends watching, waiting to see how I'd react. But I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of an outburst. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Hard truths?" I repeated, my voice steady but sharp. "You mean the part where you called my girlfriend a gold digger? Or when you basically accused her of cheating? Or was it when you made it clear you don't respect me or my relationship at all?" Lucas shrugged, like none of it really mattered. "I'm just saying, man, people need to be realistic. You think she's with you because of love? Come on. You're a smart guy. Look at the facts." I felt something inside me snap. "The facts?" I shot back. "The fact is, you're supposed to be my best friend. And instead of supporting me, instead of respecting the person I love, you sat there and tried to tear her down, for what? To make yourself feel better? To prove something?" The smirk finally started to fade from his face. He opened his mouth like he was going to argue, but I didn't give him the chance. "You don't get to act like you know more about my relationship than I do. You don't get to sit there and pretend you're looking out for me when all you're really doing is showing me exactly the kind of person you are." The room was dead silent. Everyone was staring, forks paused mid-bite, eyes flicking between me and Lucas like they were watching a slow-moving car crash. Lucas swallowed hard, his hangover fog lifting just enough for him to realize I wasn't joking. "Dude, chill," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "I was drunk." "I didn't mean, no," I cut him off. "You did mean it. That's the problem. For years, I had trusted this guy, let him into my life, let him know things about me that I didn't even share with my own family. And now I was standing in front of someone I barely recognized. Someone who had spent who knows how long secretly looking down on me, waiting for the right moment to let it all spill out." He sighed, rubbing his temples. Look, if she's really the one for you, then fine. I was just trying to help. I shook my head, letting out a dry laugh. That's not help, Lucas. That's sabotage. Lucas scoffed, shaking his head like I was the one being unreasonable. Man, you're really gonna throw away our friendship over this, he muttered, like I was the bad guy for calling him out. I was looking out for you. I was drunk, okay? Let it go. I stared at him for a long moment, feeling something shift inside me. If he had shown even a sliver of real remorse, if he had admitted he was wrong, apologized without trying to excuse it, maybe I could have moved past it. But this? This wasn't the Lucas I thought I knew. This was someone who didn't respect me, who thought he could say whatever he wanted, and then brush it off like it was nothing. Yeah, I finally said, nodding to myself. Maybe I am. His face dropped slightly, like he hadn't expected me to actually say it. But I wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to pretend I could unhear the things he said, or ignore the fact that he actually believed them. I pushed back my chair, grabbed my stuff, and walked out of that room without looking back. I walked straight to the room I was sharing with Mariana, my hands still shaking, not from anger anymore, but from clarity. I had spent years thinking Lucas had my back, that he wanted the best for me. But now, I realized he had probably always seen me as some kind of fool, someone he could talk down to, someone whose happiness was up for debate the moment he got a few drinks in him. Mariana was awake now, sitting up in bed with a sleepy, confused look on her face. Everything okay? She asked, rubbing her eyes. I hesitated for a second. I could have lied, told her it was nothing, pretended like I wasn't standing there re-evaluating a decade-long friendship. But instead, I sat down beside her and told her everything. The way Lucas had spoken about her, the way he had smirked like he was enjoying it, the way he refused to apologize. Her expression darkened as I talked, but she didn't say anything right away. When I was done, she just let out a slow breath. Wow, she muttered. I never would have expected that from him. Yeah, I admitted. Me neither. Mariana was quiet for a moment, processing everything. Then she looked at me, her face softer now. I'm sorry, she said. Not for anything I did, but because I know how much he meant to you. That hit harder than I expected. Because yeah, it wasn't just anger I was feeling, it was grief. Losing a friend like this wasn't easy. It wasn't just some argument we could brush off and pretend never happened. This was different. This was seeing someone I trusted morph into a version of himself I couldn't respect. Yeah, I exhaled, leaning back against the headboard. But I think I'm done. And I was. I didn't need an explosive fallout, I didn't need a dramatic confrontation. I just needed to be done. For the rest of the trip, I barely spoke to Lucas. He must have realized I wasn't budging, because he didn't try to force a conversation. The energy between us had shifted, and there was no going back. When we got home, I didn't block him, didn't send some long text cutting him out of my life. I just stopped reaching out. And he did the same. It was like we both understood there was nothing left to say. And honestly, I don't regret it. Because a real friend wouldn't have said those things in the first place.